Good night, everyone. I'm delighted to see those of us who are here tonight.
Thank you.
And the reason why we want to start a little bit earlier, I know we're in the midst of a work week. If we finish all day the presentation, then we can leave early. We start early and we leave early. So that you don't have to stay beyond 9:30. So this is why we have come a little bit earlier so we can start early. Delighted. Hope you have had a good day. Oh, the face is not looking so tall, you know. I hope you have had a good day. Day was all right. In spite of the ups and downs, God has been good. The very fact that we're sitting here in our sound mind says that God has been good. Amen? Amen. We want to discuss, we're looking at money management. We are no big financier, as I told you before. We'll be sharing with you from our experience. What have worked for us obviously may have some semblance of importance for you as well. And I don't take the position that we know everything. So you're open to ask your question. And if I don't have the answer, I have Brother Vaughn sitting here and his dear wife. And all of us, we can interact and share from our experiences, because all of us, we've had our concern. My goodly sister. How are you doing? You know, we continue tomorrow evening. We'll be talking about things that people don't normally will talk about. Pastor, that's our bedroom situation. In as much as it's having an impact on the marriage, we seldom want to talk about these things. Erectile dysfunction, bedroom issue, menopause, husbands complaining, having some effect on the marriage. We want to, in a little cozy way, to put the spotlight on some of these things. We're having, from a doctor's point of view, what happens, you can understand, and perhaps what you can do so that the marriage doesn't fall apart. That's my wife shop clothes and so on. Well, rest of it. But you ought to be here tomorrow night. And bring along a friend with you. Chances are they might be having the concerns and we don't want anybody to know. So we keep it locked away. And in as much as it's killing you, destroying the relationship, be here. Men don't understand. When women go through is menopause. Is menopause. Someone says it's pausing for men. And it might be true. Erectile dysfunction, you hear all of the strange dogma. But you don't see that at church. You don't put a placard to say, you don't see that. But it's real. Real. But tonight we want to focus on, and by the way, for the Sabbath afternoon's program, we want all of the couples to be registered. We want to ensure that we prepare a recommitment certificate. We need a correct name, years of marriage. All of that will be presented on Sabbath afternoon. So talk with Pastor Harris. I think he's supposed to have our first elder here at Parham, Brother Vaughn. So we can have the names, we can start the preparation for the certificate, and we can put all of the little bits and pieces together for that grant. And I want to underscore the importance of grant. I know there's some folks perhaps might be saying, I don't want you to miss it. Please don't miss Sabbath. Sabbath we'll have communion. We'll talk about starting over again. And then in the afternoon, we have our recommitment service. So wives, if your husband is not here, wives, or husband, if your wife is not here, we don't want you to be a spectator in this thing. We want you to be a part of it because it will enhance, perhaps put back everything on track as you make that commitment again to salvage our covenant relationship. How we handle money? Money management. A quotation from the historical sketches of Ellen G. White says, can we all read it together?
Money is not ours. Houses and grounds, picture and furniture, garment and luxuries do not belong to us.
And I want to underscore, because ever so often we feel that we are, and I'm not preaching a stewardship sermon, because ever so often we tend to take possession, and we think that what I have is mine, and nobody can tell me how to manage it. But I want us to put that in perspective. Psalm 24, verse 1 and 2 says, the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, the world and they that dwell therein. For he had founded it upon the seas and established it upon the floods. All what we have, and the sooner we start recognizing that who we are, what we have, our possession belongs to God. So you don't pat yourself on the shoulder and feel that I made it, I'm money in the bank, I have a thing, and so on. And forget that all what we are, all what we have, they come from God. Turn on the other one. 1 Kings 20 and 3 says what? The silver and the gold, mine. And thy children, even the godless, are mine. We are therefore stewards, managers of God's goods, and we are accountable to God for the use of his property. So we all enjoy the blessings of God. Regardless to, you may say, well, Pastor, I work for it. Nobody gave this to me. But when we fail to recognize God's ownership in what we have, then we're heading for trouble. Matthew chapter 25, 1-2. You know the parable that was given there, that God gave talent, and that has to do with money. One he gave 5, one he gave 2, one he gave 1. And you know what happened? You know what happened to that experience. I wouldn't have time to go to the passage. Continue. Shift again. In a recent research, report that all recent studies indicate that married couples quarrel over money more than anything else. Economic stress is a major cause of marital failure. Do you subscribe? Do you subscribe? Or people in this region, you're so rich and increased with goods that you don't have money concern. Am I correct or wrong? But I think it is. Not true? They say Parham and Silver Farm people, you're well off. Husband and wife, you have enough to go around and some to share. So you don't fight. So the research as it applies to us here is not relevant because it's not true. Somebody say amen, no? But that's the research. We fight over money. And I'm not saying physical fight, verbal fight. I told you not to buy it. You know the budget is. And why you? And husband, sometimes we buy an impulse. Go down the road and we see something nice and we want to buy it. And the budget, you know we didn't plan for that in mind. And then when you come home, I've been there, and I'm not talking because I know. So, where you get the money from? That was part of the budget? But it's going cheap. It's going cheap. And I'm going to get this bargain again. And in as much as we didn't have a budget for it, sometimes you go and when you go and spend on impulse, when you come home, your wife going to have a few words to tell you. I've been there. Don't look at me as if I'm somebody from... And you've been there too. Right? You make your budget and you go downtown and exotic Antigua. Am I calling it correctly? I've been saying, look shoes. They're allowance. But when you check up the cost of all the shoes, it has gone beyond the allowance. Not true? And I'm going to get that bargain again. So I buy and put, before I get in trouble. Continue.
In the average family, there is never enough money left over after the bills are paid. The result is that many couples spend restless nights arguing over financial matters. And that's also a result of research.
Is this true or right? Yeah. My sister here says true. We quarrel. Money can bring on a lot of stress, even if you're Seventh Adventist, Christian. Because when the money short, AP start climbing on the house to cut off the electricity. But we budgeted for it. So what happened to the money? Money short. We have gone beyond what the budget that we really set. Still, the bills can't. And this is why I don't advocate. If the husband has to pay the electricity and the wife buys the food, ever so often something will go wrong. You know who gets the blame? If when you're gone, AP of folks come and they cut off the electricity, who was supposed to pay? You. And perhaps the money really runs short. But that's his responsibility. It happens to all of us. And then you start scratching your head. I wonder. And these bills come when the money not there. It doesn't happen to you. The money not there. Continue.
Sharkey, in the book, he has tips on handling money. I can't see that.
Money is not the most important thing in marriage, but also how couples handle money can either strengthen or destroy the relationship. God gives us the money. The question is how you handle it. How do you handle it? There's some folks who believe money ought to be spent. You don't keep money around. And as long as you have the money, you're spending. There's no proper planning. It doesn't happen with people from Parham and Sevier Farm because you all know how to handle it. Am I not correct? Yeah. Flick the slide.
Tips in handling money. Number 1, return the Lord's tithes and offering, as in Malachi 3:8.
All right. Some of us, we say that nearly every Sabbath we pick up the tithe and the offering. Let me ask the question. Do we still subscribe and we still believe that we ought to return tithes and offering? Or is it just something that we go through the motion? And Pastor, it doesn't matter. And there's some folks who will tell you, well, God no need no money. If we want the money that we work for to stretch, first of all, you must recognize, and we started the presentation saying that God, He owns everything. And that ought to be the bottom line. He owns everything. And he requires from us our tithes and offering. By the way, there's a blessing that is associated with us returning. I hate to hear people say, I pay my tithe. You don't pay nothing.
Return.
You don't pay anything because the tithe belongs to God. We return it. But you know, sometimes we become so stingy with God. It doesn't happen here with you because you're liberal in your giving. Am I not correct? To the point that we start looking at what belongs to God with a cocky eye. Particularly when, and by the way, it's a tenth of your earning. So if you work if your salary is 100, then what's the tithe?
$10.
Eh?
10.
It sounds easy. But when you start working for 1,000 and 2,000 and 3,000, and then you start saying, that's too much. And we start becoming stingy. And look who you're stingy with. And the question is asked, would a man rob God? People here on this side, you don't do that. Because we turn up our nose when we hear of a robbery. Will a man rob God? And it is said that a robber is a bold-faced individual. You walk through St. John's, and if he or she thinks you have money, hold you by the neck, and regardless who may say anything, and he goes squeak, give me your money. With a knife or gun at your neck. Give me the money. That's a robber, not a thief. A thief is the one who hides. The darkness of the night, nobody would see him or her. And then, when he knows that nobody's watching, then he strikes. But a robber, I don't care who see me. That's the language that is used in the Bible. Will a man rob God? What it says? What's the answer? What's the response? You have robbed me.
Tithes and offering.
So if you rob God, all blessings come from him. If you're robbing him, then how you expect the thing going to gel together? What's your response? Should you therefore? And I like that argument. When we start looking at what God says, there's that little cocky eye response. And then you get it, would you? If somebody gave you a cow, would you sell the cow and so on? And you get this long argument. But it says you honor God with your increase. So if somebody gives you a gift for $1,000, should you therefore tithe it? No, that's not my salary. Is it an increase unto you? So what should you return the Lord's tithe on? If it's an increase, should you not? Yeah. The sister says, suppose it is given for school fees for the children. Should it therefore require us returning a tithe? Preacher, you're saying something? Should you?
It would do no harm to do that because you see how God blesses you. I remember when I was in CUC, I was really broke. My sister sent me $35 TT, and kid you me, that was not a lot of money. But just then they were preaching and they said, if you don't have any money, whatever, you could trust God. And I said, God, I'll trust you. I'll put everything in there. I will put everything in there. This tithe, offering, increase everything. By the time Saturday night came and they were calling names, my name was called and I got an envelope. And that envelope had 10 times the money that I gave God. And that was always, it's a blessing. I didn't have money, but sometimes we have to put God to the test.
Yeah.
And that school fee thing, yeah, girl, if you want to see school fee for the next 7 years, you better give God something on that.
The fact remains, God does not need our money. When we return what is God, you're doing something not for God, but for yourself. Selfishness says, keep it. But when we recognize that, hey, all of these blessings that I have, they come as a result of my relationship with God, then hey, you can't outgive him. And too often within our families, we tend to be selfish, hoarding what belongs to God, failing to return God's tithes. And by the way, it's not only tithes. You rub me in what?
Tithes and offerings.
Your offering. Offering. By the way, I need to say it. And ever so often, some of us fail to return. God says, bringing all the tithes into the storehouse. And when you do that, you have, as it were, that's your personal response to God, and a blessing come to you. If when I return the Lord's tithe and the conference for whatever reason, that's their business. But I get my blessing.
No,
I
but
get my blessing.
she's asked, yeah. Yes, that is true, but we have to sign. We have to sign a contract to allow them to take that money out of our salary.
Well, I would not endorse that because that is your personal response.
Oh, well, in your time, they didn't do that. But in our time, they do that
if
now.
you're faithful, fine, my tithe goes back to. And the fact is, if the conference want to do anything otherwise, I get my blessing. When the Lord blesses me, whoever wants to do at the end of the road, that's their business. But when I do what God says, as the Bible says, prove me now wherewith said the Lord of hosts, if I will not open the windows of heaven and pour you out. The question is, let's do what God says, because if, when you return your tithes and your offering, there's a blessing that comes with it, then why would you short-circuit yourself and rob yourself of that blessing? And too often within our families, we fail to return what God says. Yeah. I'm coming to you. All of you increase. You increase. Yeah. Mhm. Is it an increase unto you? Is it an increase unto you? You didn't have it before? All right. Yeah. The Lord has blessed you with everything. Right. Don't let us become big. In fact, the promise says, prove me herewith, said the Lord, if I would not open the windows of heaven and pour you out. You know, if God counts the little dribblings that we try to withhold from him, look at the blessing and he blesses not only dollars and cents, he blesses in so many different ways. Yeah. The mere fact that you're sitting here tonight is a blessing. It's a blessing. So within our families, we ought to recognize the monies that we have, whether you get it in gift or otherwise, it comes from God. And if he says, honor me, prove me. Because the more we look at ourselves and we look at the little money that we have, and the more you hold on to it, is the more the man who closes his hands and fails to open, it decreases his capacity to receive. Your hand closed. Yes. Coming to you. No, there's a whole section in my house. Yeah. That's a whole another discussion. I mean, that's the welfare department and so on to prepare so when you come, you get meat. And you can bring a cow too if you want meat. Sorry about it. Point number 2. Make a budget to guide your spending. After you return the Lord's tithe, the balance of money that remains is what? Is God's as well? Yes. God's money. God's money. So we ought not to just haphazardly just do as we like. It's still God's money. So you need to make a budget to guide your spending. And too often we spend from just response. Sooner or later, you'll have a lot of the month left when the money finish. Because there's no proper guidance in terms of how you handle God's goods. So you were saying something? Right. And nobody expects you to go and sell the gifts and so on, to go and return. The fact is, you also return not only tithe, but the offering. Show your gratitude to God for what he has done for you. Okay? And if you're grateful to God for all of his blessings, then you can show your appreciation to God by returning faithful tithe and offering. Now one says, number 2 says, are we number 2?
We finish with 2. 3, avoid my money versus your money mentality.
Within a family, and I think I said something on this last night, it is not my money because you get the paycheck. And the other spouse can say, well, it's my money. No, there's no my money, your money. All the monies that you have, it's the family money, our money. Our money. So when you get your salary, not because your salary might be bigger than mine and you tend to take ownership. No, it's not yours. It's our money. You're one. And the oneness must extend to the monies that both of you accumulate. Yes, I'm coming to you. Surely.
Studies have shown, I forgot the quote though, that families that are successful are families who spend within a pool. You put the money together, it's not your money or my money, it's our money. And you make a budget. Along with it, you put your savings aside and you put the money for the house we are going to build, the money for the car we are going to buy. So you begin to allocate monies because it's not my money and your money is our money. So this pool generates our future.
Just a sidebar, and I don't advocate that. Coming to you, sister. If the wife stays home and she doesn't work,
She works.
and she doesn't have a job,
She has a job.
and anything should happen, you know, legally, the estate will be divided equally.
Because
You can argue as much as you want. It's my house. I built it. You didn't work no way. But from a secular point of view, both of you have equal equity. She may never knock struck in all of her life. Both of you won. Both of you won. That's my wife. And you can't argue to say, well, no, I have all the receipt here. We come back to that. Somebody... Why you get into that in the first place? If I can't trust the person to be my wife, why am I getting to that? There seems to be something that is missing. I know in folks, they want to secure their estate. Well, I have so much, and I don't want the other person. Well, if you have that in mind, then it's better not to get involved. Leave that alone. That's my personal opinion. Okay? Right. Right. That's a whole lot of big discussion. But let's hold on it.
Sister Joseph
Track
had her hand
your
up.
income and expenses. Too often,
Hello? Sister Joseph had her hand up.
yeah,
Do you have a?
spendthrift.
Oh.
If the husband is a spendthrift, because your money, you can't give him leverage to go and spend the security of the family. The fact is, right,
But that's true.
if the husband is the one who can better able to handle the money, why not allow him to? If the wife, perhaps, right,
Because it's our money. That's why we come to number 4. Track income and expenses. You pay attention to what is happening. Because I will not put my little hard-earned money in any kind of pool and you suddenly have, all of a sudden, you have the desire to change your car. And you have a desire to do this and you desire to change your suits. No. So we have to track income. That's why we have a budget and we stick to the income and expenses. Pay special attention to that.
this is why you need to sit down. This is the money we have. This is how the money will be dispensed. So you have an agreement on the part of both of you. That's a commitment you make on the part of, because it's our money. But to allow one person to buy whatever he wants, buying an impulse, sooner or later the family finances will be in trouble. So you have to sit down. This is how we're going to dispense the money that the Lord has blessed us with. If you don't have mutual understanding as far as that's concerned, one person can just run a havoc of the family finances. When you think you have money, there's no money there. The account is overdrawn. Don't know what happened. And I would advocate, if The husband has a weakness handling the money. Then let the wife, let her handle the money. But you know, sometimes as a man, we want to show that we have the checkbook. And you pull out the checkbook and you write a check. You're writing a check. No. If the wife is the one who can pull the thing together, she's doing it not for herself, but for us. Well, if both of them have weakness in spending.
In trouble. But just keep tracking. Keep tracking, Kim.
My thing, this is why, before marriage, you must have some understanding in terms of how we'll handle the money that the Lord has blessed us with. And if perchance that comes through, then you ought to be aware. So it's not just walking up the aisle. There's several variables that you have to understand because you can get in trouble. And when you have a lot of the month left at the end of the paycheck, then you're in trouble. Where you going to get the money from? You're going to steal it? You're going to borrow it? And sometimes you borrow to pay expense. If you're borrowing to pay debt, you know you're digging a deeper hole. If you can't pay it up front, how are you going to pay it when you're going to put on put? And then I come back. Yes. Right. Yeah, we're coming to that. Valid point. Live within your means.
That helps in maintaining the budget. You know, you have $20 to spend on groceries. Try not to go to the aisle with the most expensive things. Go to the aisle with the rice and the this and the that. Don't go for the, these things, the turkey and the Christmas is coming, you have $20. Let's go get chicken back. Gluten. Live within your means. So that means you have a budget. This is what we have. Let's be happy with what we have. Let's make that work.
And if you have a budget, both of you sat and you put together that budget, and you're budgeted, let's say $200 for grocery. Should you exceed the 200? Because if you exceed the 200 and the 200 becomes 3 and 4, then where the balance of that money will be coming from? Because the money is budgeted.
But in putting together a budget, be realistic. We're just sending figures around. But if in this day and age, you could never use $200 for a budget for food. Or don't talk if you have children. That does not make sense. So make your budget realistic. So when you go to the supermarket, you don't just come out with nothing. Make sure you have enough food for the family.
It can be realistic if you have the money to cover it.
Well, that's what you're doing. In your budget, you plan. So sometimes you don't need 2 free for a pair of shoes. One would do.
Okay. All right.
Sorry, the mic is used so that people online can hear the question.
Okay.
Yes. Is it wise to increase your spending as your salary and income increases? In other words, the blessings are really coming in, the financial blessing. And so as a result, now you buy more expensive clothes, more expensive shoes. I mean, everything rises with your salary. How wise is that?
Okay. You have a little bit more exposable income. Should I therefore not upgrade myself? Or should I stay within what I'm accustomed to? I have an old car. I can think a little bigger salary. Can I upgrade?
If you don't need to, use what you have. That's a nice You have to think of retirement.
Coming to
People
that.
retirement. So make sure you put that little increase towards your retirement.
If the budget can cover it, and both of you sat down, you put the thing together, and you can see, you can, because the budget is not to strangle you. And you're there, if you can have the added income to upgrade yourself, I don't think anything is wrong with that. Sister Mills, am I on the correct path? Yeah. You don't think so? Okay.
I think many persons make the mistake of spending because they have more. What could or should happen is that the little extra that is received can be saved for future use. Because if you were able to live on $1,200 monthly, and the additional 5 comes, make it 17. Forget that you actually got the 5. Ignore that you got the 5 and work with the 12 that you have. I think that makes better sense.
Okay.
Unless it requires you need a little outfit up. Sometimes maybe you've changed your manager and it demands you change your whole wardrobe. So you change your wardrobe, but you make sure you wear uniforms so you don't have to use it next month again. So sometimes the upgrade comes with some demands. Otherwise, on that, you save that money.
Okay, point taken.
Okay. Come, make it quick. I think we.
I think we should focus on, in a case like this, we focus on the needs, not want. Too many times we go after things we want and not things we need. And we buy the things we want and we put them there to just gather dust, and this point, that's just money down the drain. If we focus on the needs, then we would have...
Okay, wonderful. So avoid comparison with others. If you know that the money you have, you can't be like the Joneses, then don't hang your hat where your pocket cannot reach. And too often, sometimes we allow other people, their lifestyle to dictate how you handle, how you spend. I know my pocket. I know to what extent I can go. I don't want to be in a position where I'm overreaching. Spend within and don't allow other folks to set your agenda. You don't know how they got their means from. You know what you have. Live within what you can afford.
Practice delayed gratification.
If you can, buy trading the old fridge. This week, because it's Christmas time. And Courts is giving special things. Maybe I can't do it this year. But can I delay the thing based on our financial position? Can I delay it until next year? Or because everyone seems to be upgrading, you have to. Wait until you can. And in the meantime, can we put aside something towards getting a new fridge? And it could be anything. Hold a while until your pocket can handle it. Too often, we tend to want to do like everybody else, and you're going to get in trouble. Our finances cannot afford it. Just put it off. Delay it a little. You'll get there. In your planning, in your budgeting, you know that down the road, we plan to trade in, get ourselves a new fridge. Take a look at your income. The net, not the gross. You know the difference?
Tell us.
The gross is a big thing. before the expense. And the net is after you've paid all of your expenses, the balance that remains, that's the net. And sometimes we budget on the gross and not on the net. When all of the other expenses are taken out, what is left? That is what you have to spend. You're not going to budget on the 5,000. The net is, after you've paid all of your expenses, what is left, then you build your budget on that. The other one says,
Create a plan to pay off existing debt.
create a plan. You know who you owe. You have to pay it. And by the way, I don't have it on the screen. Too often it becomes very easy to say, charge it. You pull out the card and you say, charge it. It's easy, convenient. You know the interest you pay on a credit card versus a debit card? You know? We go overseas and we have the credit card and we pull it out. And sometimes it's up to 20%. If after you have used it and you have the money to pay it off, then you do. Don't leave it, because every day interest is added onto that expense. A debit card means that you have money on the account that you can cover the expense. Okay? Must devise a plan. Don't because you have all of the... Find a plan. Make a plan, you and your spouse. How are we going to pay the debt that we owe? Avoid unnecessary debt. Very important. If you can avoid getting yourself in more debt, don't. Go ahead.
As a child of God, I think God said that his children must be the best.
I'm not hearing you.
As a child of God, God is saying that his children must be the best. His children must be up there, not poor people. I think sometimes as Christians, we make ourselves too poor because we having to hide money and we become poor. And where we looking so like we can't even buy our clothes, and because we putting up all the money. Spend the money. Let us look like God's children and look good. I think that's something we're hiding too much of money and we're not looking good. And so on. Sometimes, we go down to and we want a pair of shoe because we're on a budget and we're saying that we're not buying this shoe. Pastor, we have to look good as God's children. God expects better from us.
As long as you can afford it, go ahead. But if you can't afford it, don't go and trust the people and you're not going to get the money to pay it off. Avoid unnecessary debt. If the old shoe you have can take you around until you get the means to buy a new one, by all means. So don't go and trust the people something and you know you don't have the money. We were living in a particular neighborhood. At Christmas time, coming to you. At Christmas time, right, one of those trucks that deliver from Courts. Was it Courts? All of the Courts had a special going on. And you don't pay until February. Truck pull up with new bed and thing. At least you can sleep until February. You don't have anything to pay. By the following year, the same truck pull up. And all of the things they had packed into the house They moved them out. You know that you could not have afforded that. And sometimes as Christians, we become so selfish and avarice in terms of our expectation. As a Christian, if we follow good money management, you save yourself that embarrassment. Avoid unnecessary debt. And debt means you don't have the means to pay it.
Yes.
And nothing is more embarrassing than somebody coming to rap at your house. Miss So-and-so, I'm the bailiff. The other one.
You have something to say?
Yeah. Oh, yes. In the previous slide, you said you build your budget on the net, but our tithe and offering, which is included in the budget, should be on our gross. A lot of people have some issues there.
Right. I don't really argue with folks whether you return tithes on the net or on the gross. It's your commitment and your relationship with God. And if I'm convinced that I'm a child of God and He has blessed me in so many ways, that's a non-argument. But when I start net and gross and so on, God not bless us on net and gross. He opened the windows of heaven and pour you out. The blessing comes in when He pours it out, that you would not have room. Lord, is this coming? You don't have room to receive it. And we're proving God. And God, again, I emphasize the point. He doesn't need our money. He wants to prove our commitment and our devotion to Him. Number 11 says,
Plan for large expenses.
if you plan to repair the house, you can't do it in one shot. If you plan to upgrade whatever, both of you need to sit down and plan, count the costs before you take that step. Major expenses. When you're planning to buy a piece of land, whether or not you plan to expand the house, don't put added strain on the budget. The budget would not be able to carry it. It needs planning. The other one said, shop around before you purchase. But you know, that's one of the things when I have to do shopping, if I have a shopping list and I go to Chase, I'll shop at Chase. Sometime you get home, you're in trouble. Sweetheart, how much you pay for this? My response is always, I don't know. You have the receipt. So why should you purchase this item for so much when you could go at Epicurean and get it at $1, $2 less? You all keep quiet on me as if I'm me alone. We all do the same thing. But the fact is, it's not negating the point that we need to shop around, because something you can get here for way less than what you'd get it over here from. So you need to shop around. But I have a problem. I have a problem. If it's on the shopping list, take it. Because I'm not going to leave Chase and drive across town to go pick up the same item.
The budget.
As long as I'm still within the budget, you don't think I have the right to pick up the item over here? Yeah.
Before I go to your question, it is, Pastor, in Antigua, we have this saying, if this person if Shaw's is selling something for $5 and Woods have it for $50, I go buy Woods and buy it because it costs more, so it's more expensive. So that's how we do. That's how we live in Antigua. We don't buy the cheap things for $5. We buy the things for $50. So when my friends see me, they can say that I'm wearing something expensive.
Even if the budget can't,
right.
Even if the budget can't afford it.
That's it. My second thing was you talk about when you have the budget and you go up to the supermarkets. Pastor, I like to shop around, and I go for the cheapest thing. So if it's on my shopping list, and it's $5 less by Woods, I'm going to drive by Woods and buy it for $5. Yeah, because I bring down my budget, so I'm not going to buy it on the budget. So I think that one not correct. What you just said.
If you don't purchase based on what you have budgeted, then you're going to put the whole thing in a whack, because the money that you take to buy it must come from someplace in the budget. So
yes, Pastor, it's coming from the budget. But what I'm saying is this. All supermarkets in Antigua have different prices.
Right.
So you have to know the prices if you're a customer of shopping. So you shop Woods, you shop Bagging Center,
right.
You shop Equiparium, you go down by First Choice, you shop all around. You put gas in your vehicle and you go around and get the cheapest price.
Very well. As long as you can afford it. And the thing says, major expenses. Don't settle for one. This is why you ask for quotation, so that perhaps you'll get a better bargain some other place. I'm talking about the ordinary shopping list. I mean, if I see there, I want it. But when I am considering our family finance, then you need to shop around. Start an emergency fund and a savings account. Too often we live from hand to mouth. And it's not how much you work for that matters. You need to put aside something for rainy day. As it says, emergency fund. Put aside something. As the Bible says, go to the ant, thou sluggard. Consider your ways and be wise. There sometimes will come an emergency, and you need to have some financial preparation for that eventuality. And a saving. Even if it's $5, on a weekly or monthly basis, you can put aside something so at least you have something you can fall back on. It doesn't make sense for you to spend all that you work for. And then when these eventualities come, you find yourself in trouble. An emergency fund. That's the time you need the money. And too often, we spend off all, we eat off all. And then when the emergency comes, you come to the church. I believe that the church ought to help in moments, but don't live your life depending on somebody else. If you have a job, ensure that you put aside something for a rainy day. Make sense? Common money mistakes that couples should avoid. Number one, financial secrecy. Money is part of your life. You ought not to get to the point where you become so secretive about no. Both of you ought to sit down as husband and wife and say, hey, This is what we have. This is how we got. Even if you may put aside something, touch away something someplace, but both of you must come to some understanding. This is how we're going to handle the money. Now the wife take a portion and this is from here. And your husband doesn't know where that money goes. The other one said, making major purchase without agreement. That's trouble. If you plan to have a major expenditure, then both of you must come together and have an understanding, an agreement in terms of what you handle. Ignoring budgeting. And this is a big problem. If you have made a budget, then stay within the budget. And the other one says using money to control or punish. The last one says avoiding financial discussion altogether. There's no discussion. I spend when I want, how I want, buy whatever I want. But you must realize you're part of a family, you're part of a team. And you spend, you plan together, you spend together. The wife knows what you're doing, you know what the wife is doing. So both of you together handling the money that the Lord has given to you.
When money is managed well, it can reduce stress, build trust, encourage teamwork, support shared dreams.
And ever so true. When you don't have money to meet your expenditure, then how you sleep? How you sleep? When you don't have money to pay the utilities, how you handle? Then if you're stressed out, then intimacy, everything goes out of the window because you're worried. Next one. Proverbs chapter 22. Okay. Financial peace in marriage is not about how much you earn, but how well you manage what you have together. And this is so pertinent. It's not how much. Because people work for plenty of money and sometimes they don't save a penny. You may work for a little, but on a regular basis you can put aside something that when rainy day comes, it can pay you over. Yes, Brother Shaw. Some folks believe it's a lack of faith, not having an insurance policy. Well, if any institution ought to have faith, ought to be the church. All of our church buildings are insured. This is why when they broke in and took your television, you know who paid? If you didn't have an insurance, then what will happen? If the church senses it's important to have an insurance policy, what about you? You're in your house and you hear fire. Next thing you know, your building is on fire. Who takes care of that expenditure? I've heard the argument. Lack of faith. The Lord will protect me. The Lord does not expect us to be foolish. Yes, it is important to have an insurance policy. Sickness insurance, whatever insurance. It doesn't mean that you don't have faith in God. Proverbs chapter 22, verse 29 says, "Seest thou a man diligent in his business, he shall stand before kings. He shall not stand before men, mean men." Being a Christian means that you must have some wherewithal how you handle what the Lord has blessed you with. And too often we make ourselves poor because we fail to do what God says. You know, Deuteronomy says, I don't have it listed there, if we do obey God diligently, do what he says, and I share the concern here. And Christians are now walking around looking as if, well, your God is dead. When we do what God says, blessings will attend us, because the one who owns the world, the one who says the silver and the gold are all his, then why should I walk around as if, well, I'm some bastard child? I'm a child of God. And as long as I'm a child of God, then I have right to the blessings of the world that he has created. All hard work brings a profit, but mere talk leads only to poverty. Don't sit around simply on wishful thinking. You know exactly what God expects. And I want to get back to the whole idea of when we obey God and return what is his, look at the blessings that he would dispense upon us. Look at the blessing. When we start withholding, if we start robbing God of what is his, a man who robs God can't expect to have God's blessing in abundance. So it's not just a cliche. And I'm not saying this because I'm a pastor. No. And every Sabbath we say it. The question is whether or not we practice what we say. I think he wants it.
Pastor, I think as a church, the church is not doing enough to help married people. Because the reason why I say that sometimes in the church we struggle, right? We need help, like a counseling and so. Because Pastor, it's hard for when a man work and he come home and he have his money and they're husband and wives in the church, but they are not putting the monies together. The wife is saying is his money, is her money, and the husband is saying is his money. So they are not bonding together, and it's because of lack of something in the church. We are not helping. That's why a lot of divorces in the church, because we are the pastors who knows to help is not helping. So a lot of divorce in the church and a lot of problem about money is in the church, because they are not helping the brethren in the church. And I think that's one of the problems.
Could I respond to that? Could I respond to that? There may be a little truth to that. But then for my years of being in the ministry, you plan the programs. Look at here. And the persons who are supposed to be here are not here. So people like this, you cannot help them. And sometimes, of course, when folks think that they are having problems, they don't want to come to programs like this because they're afraid people will, But if I need help, I will go looking for the help. And that's where we have to teach people, hey, something like that. And sometimes we too pretend that we are our marriages are so perfect that the people who are having problems, they don't want to come among perfect people. So sometimes that debars them. But if they would come, sometimes they are learning opportunities. Sometimes they're not grabbing those opportunities.
Yeah, okay. All right. There's another hand over here. Yes, sure.
Okay. Now there are two biblical concepts that seem to contradict each other. All right? One of them says, labor not to be rich. Okay? Then there's another one that says, the hand of the diligent, it maketh rich. Right? and God has no sorrow with it. Now, can a person, okay, there's something called ambition. There's ambition and there is greed. All right? How do you know the difference? Because both of them want more. Okay? You're ambitious, you want more. You're greedy, you want more. Now, one is positive and one is negative. How do you know that you're being greedy or you're being ambitious?
Good question. Anyone has a response for sure? You're answering the question he asked? Make it quick.
No. We ask God for ambition. And we follow things. Sometimes when you follow your ambition, don't necessarily mean you need it for wealth. It could be something, you have a passion for something, and you are determined to get there. So even if you're in a job, but your goal is to get there, and the desire that you have is to keep making progress. You don't want to slow down. You don't want to, you don't have to be wealth. So you go in after, with the help of God, the blessings that you would have. Because I always watch every ability I have, I watch it as a gift from God. So I always try to add to it. I always try to make sure that my brain, since I was a young fellow, I always asked God for ambition, wisdom, knowledge, ambition, and understanding. So I could always thrive and keep thriving, and I could encourage others along the way, whether verbally or just they just watch the way that I do things, and they would follow because of that.
Okay. You want the mic? Here. Ambition versus greed.
I think ambition is based on honesty.
Based on?
Honesty.
Honesty.
You work honestly. But the other part is greed. Like you rob people, they do all kind of stuff when they're doing their work. That is the other part. Another question I have, Pastor. Talking about budgeting. Sometimes people would shop and they shop the cheap stuff.
They shop and they
buy cheap things.
Cheap things.
And the next week, maybe like, see a lot of fans all around the place because they're cheap. And it mash up, so you're spending your money uselessly because it cannot last. That is not wise shopping.
Okay.
I bought 2 shoes one time I was playing. They said, buy one, get one, half price. And the following day, I went to work, a stick ball one. I had to change the plan and go around town and look. And I bought one I knew I could last me longer. It makes more sense. Another thing again, Pastor, you're talking about the husband and wife. I went to a place where I was buying some shoes. I asked them, how come they have 3/4 of the store with only women's stuff? They say men does not buy often. Women buying. So women not buy plenty. So it could be a problem in marriage. Not that the woman must not wear something nice because your wife should be looking good. But not first time I'm hearing that women buy plenty, men hardly buy clothes. So what's the problem in marriage? Could be that.
Yeah, coming to you. There's somebody over here. Ladies, they shop plenty. So the store make allowances for the ladies, not the men. I'm not here negating. I feel when you're shopping, it ought to be something that is doable. Buy one, get one. Sometimes when you put both of them together, they don't make a good shoe. But that is not to say that you ought to go outside of the budget. Still stay, because that your budget, that's the way you'll handle your money. He's not here saying that, oh, you're going to be extravagant in your spending. You still stay within. If you can't buy it this week, perhaps next week, you put up half of the money this week, and next week you can buy something that is doable. I don't subscribe to the fact that, as he says, you buy it today, and by the time you wear it 2 or 3 times, it's gone. And the whole idea of desire, God expects us to be ambitious. And greed, it comes from a different motivation. Selfishness. You want to be rich just for rich sake. When God blesses us, He blesses us so that we can be a blessing to other folks. And if you want just to be rich, to walk around to say, well, I have plenty of money, I think that's the wrong motivation. But if you use the means, be ambitious enough so God can bless you with the talent and the skills to develop yourself so that you can use those means that the Lord has entrusted to you to help somebody else. I think that is worthwhile.
With the part about the shoes, my experience is different from his. Because a few years ago, I went downtown to buy a pair of shoes, and if the deal is there and I look on the item and I see it looks durable, I will take it. So here I went into this store where they had 2 for 1. And it was feeler, and there was this other shoes. And I took the 2 pairs of shoes and I paid $200. And I'm telling you, this was the best $200 I ever spent, because both pairs of shoes last me for years. Until one time I ended up going into the sea with the other one because it's like it wasn't finishing. But the other one that got jealous started to fall apart from the inside. So while I'm using it looking good on the outside, on the inside his heart is eating out. But I can say it was a good buy. So all experiences are not the same.
Right.
But when we're going to buy, especially things like shoes, we need to watch the lining of the shoes, among other things, so we can make a good purchase.
Very well, very well. Okay. The next text.
Proverbs 13:4. The soul of the sluggard desireth and have nothing, but the soul of the diligent shall be made fat.
Next one.
Proverbs 23:21. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
For the drunkard and the glutton shall come to poverty, and drowsiness shall clothe a man with rags. Proverbs 28:20. A faithful man shall abound with blessings, but he that maketh haste to be rich shall not be innocent. We just talked about that. Proverbs 21:6. The getting of treasures by a lying tongue is a vanity tossed to and fro of them that seek death.
Last one.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Deuteronomy 28:1. And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt
hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all his commandments, which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high and above all the nations of the earth. When once we do what God says, the child of God, and the fact that we are children of God means that we heir to all what happens around us. God doesn't expect us to walk around as if we are bastards. As long as we do what God says, blessings will attend us. If we fail to obey God's biddings, then we can't expect to be blessed if we are disobedient. It says, he'll make us above and not beneath. We shall lend and not borrow. Let us follow God's dictate. And the money that he has blessed you with is still God's money. Even after you have returned your tithes and your offering, the balance that is left is still God's. And we have to be mindful, be careful how we handle God's good. So within a family, do what God says. Sit down and say, hey, this is how we're going to dispense the blessing that the Lord has given to us. And then God surely will dispense his blessing upon us. Yes, Brother Shaw.
Okay, lastly.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I believe that as a church, well, of course, we have an excellent stewardship concept, teachings, and so on, to be faithful to God and so on. I believe the church, one of the things the church should do more of, and that is to teach people how to earn more, how to invest. For example, I notice, if you notice certain races of people, certain ethnic groups, money seems to just follow them, right? But then studies have shown the reason why they're always wealthy, there are certain policies, there are certain things that they put in place from childhood. They instill certain habits, right? Investing, working, saving, all right? And I think we should do more as a church, teaching people, for example, how to establish more than one stream of income. Not necessarily more than one job, because you work 2 and 3 jobs and you don't have time for your family and so on, right? Invest in something that will bring in money. They call it passive income. So I think these are things that we should teach the church, how to be smart in earning, creating more wealth, creating more opportunities, not just depending on a job, all right? So I think we need to do a lot more of that.
Well said. Well said. Okay, let us all stand. As we turn to the person standing beside you, turn to the person standing beside you. Brother Shaw, can you come on this side? My admonition is, let us all be committed. For God desires that we enjoy the bounties of life. We just need to follow his dictates. He wants us to be happy. He wants us to enjoy the bounties of the earth, which is his. May God help us to be obedient. Within our families, yes, we'll have our challenges, but with God, we can surmount whatever challenges. You're married between your husband and your wife. Then, as long as we allow the principles of God to guide us in the correct path, we'll be able to enjoy life. And a Christian should not be the person to be walking around begging a dime or 25 cents. Because the God who is my Father, he holds all of the wealth in his hand. They're all his. And if we go to him, he will not turn us aside. But we have to live that life of obedience. Loving Father, we know we have not scratched the depth of handling the means that you have given to us. We all have made mistakes. Selfishness sometimes takes over. But Lord, tonight we want to ask you to forgive us. Even if we are not married, we're here today. You've blessed us with means. Oh God, help us to handle them the way you expect. So, dispensing of our means, we'll be able to do it in a way that will bring honor and praise to your name. Oh God, be with us. As we leave again, Lord, we pray that you'll go with us, grant us journeying mercies. And tomorrow evening, as we look at the physical aspect of our relationship, bring us back here again. Thank you for the night. And for those of us who are here, go with us now, we pray. For we ask it all with thanksgiving. In Jesus' name. Amen. Good night, everyone.